So we're 2/3 of the way into July, and I suspect you haven't heard much about hurricane season yet. And there are a couple reasons for that, and let me bring you up to speed. Though it officially began June 1st, the Atlantic tropical season typically doesn't get going in earnest until August. Though there's already been 4 named storms this year, one was an unusual storm in January, way out in the Atlantic, while in early June, 2 tropical storms had minimal impact on the southeast. The last few weeks, plumes of dust from the Sahara Desert, lofted more than 5,000 feet up, have blown across the Atlantic. They show up as orange and pink in this special satellite loop from earlier this month. Here's a different color scheme showing the dust plume forecast for the next week. This high-altitude, warm, dry air typically catches a ride on speedy easterly winds that make it tough for thunderstorms to grow and then organize into a tropical cyclone. Back in 1972, Dr. Toby Carlson, who would later join the Penn State meteorology faculty, published some of the first research on the negative impact this so-called Saharan air layer has on tropical development. Meanwhile, in the eastern Pacific, which typically has more named storms than the Atlantic, there had been 0 as of the end of June, the first time since 1969 that happened. But then in rapid succession, 5 storms formed in 2 weeks. Tropical storm Agatha, and then 4 hurricanes, Blas, Celia, Darby, and Estelle, all moved to the west-northwest away from land over pretty much the same patch of ocean. Typically, you hear how hurricanes feed off warm water, but the interaction actually works both ways. The winds churn up the sea, mixing colder water from below to the surface. And you can actually see how this affects water temperatures. Here, the red arrow is the average track of those storms from July 6th to the 13th. The colors show the change in ocean temperature over that same period. Blue means the water cooled. The darkest shade of blue means by 3 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can notice how the average storm track overlaps with a corridor of water that got colder. That is not a coincidence. Finally, we head to the western Pacific, climatologically the busiest hurricane basin on Earth. On average, there'd be 6 storms here by now, but so far only 1. Super Typhoon Napartak, which reached Category 5 strength on July 6th when it took on this classic buzzsaw appearance on infrared satellite imagery. Fortunately, it weakened as it made landfall in Taiwan on July 7th. Nicely depicted in this special satellite image that highlights the eye and the powerful thunderstorms that make up the eye wall. The Japanese Himawari satellite captured this visible loop of Napartak earlier in its life. The resolution here is a stunning 500 meters, better by a factor of 2 than the current U.S. geostationary satellites. That gap in observational capability will close in October, however, with the launch of the newest American geostationary weather satellite. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the extended forecast next.